going on tonight. How was your game watch experience? I know that you weren't so invested on Friday. You watched the game similarly to the way I did, where I wasn't invested for 39 minutes and 45 seconds, and then I was. What was the game watch experience for you tonight?
It was very docile. I just kind of sat on the couch. I didn't check Twitter. I didn't post anything. I was just kind of like, all right, you beat Duquesne with sincere carry gone. You're supposed to. There was some intrigue though at the end. The spread was 6, so there was almost some interesting things going on at the end. But yeah, I mean, look, a win's a win, as we say this season. I mean, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you're watching these games now with the Fordham and LaSalle losses in the back of your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how you have to look at it. And no, I asked you that because I watched the Davidson game just the same way you did. I think a lot of people. And after Fordham, after LaSalle, my Lord, the people online that came after us for criticizing the team, the people that came after me personally, absolutely ridiculous for simply saying that we expected more out of the Flyers, we expected more out of our senior leaders. And I bring that up tonight because where are those people tonight? Do you think they're tuning into a Dayton versus Duquesne game on Wednesday? I think not. I don't think any of those people are around, and I want to break something to all the listeners. 75% of this fan base is not going to watch Dayton Duquesne on Wednesday night. But you, fair listener, you are. And you came to listen to the rapid reaction, hear what we have to say, and I applaud you for it. But I just want to make it crystal clear that our fan base is no different than any other fan base. We get up for big games against big teams, and big home games, okay? NCAA tournament games, of course. All big games Flyer fans have always gotten up for. But the rest of this, the muck we watched tonight, 75% of our fan base does not watch these games. They don't care about them. They don't even know that they exist. So I start the show there tonight because I was doing some thinking today, and we have a lot of dads that listen to the show, and if you're a parent, you know that it's inevitable that your kids are going to piss you off, just one way or another. They're going to draw on your favorite piece of furniture. Maybe they're going to piss on the rug in the corner. I don't know what kids do, okay, but I know that somewhere along the line, your kids are going to piss you off, and you're going to yell at them probably louder than you want to. Right? You're going to get so worked up in the moment that you're going to yell at your children. You're probably going to be scathing. And then after the fact, cooler heads, they always prevail. And you take a deep breath, and then you recognize the error of your ways, or maybe not the error of your ways, or maybe you say, hey, what I had to say was fair, but maybe I said it in too harsh of a tone. And that, my friends, is where we have found ourselves with this Dayton basketball season. This team killed us against LaSalle. They killed us against Fordham. They killed the hopes of an at-large bid. And we had a lot of things to say. We had a lot of grievances to air against this Dayton Flyers team. But like the parent of a child that has just been screamed at, eventually we come back around to letting them in our lives, opening our house doors to welcome them back in. And that's precisely what we have done to Dayton in the last 2 games. We have welcomed them back into our homes, and they have graced us with 2 wins against Davidson on Friday night and against Duquesne here today. Final again, 72-63. Flyers cover, and they hit the over, which I said in the game day morning, fellas, was going to hit. So with that preamble behind us now, Drew, I know you have initial thoughts on what you saw tonight. Before I get to those, I just want to remind people that Dayton has now beat Duquesne 10 out of their last 11 contests, 14 out of their last 16, and that is their 83rd meeting that improves the Flyers to 58-24 against the Duquesne Dukes. Drew, what are your initial thoughts from the game tonight, brother?
So Dayton went on a 15-1 run with Zemi playing the 5 and no big in sight. That should be point 1A because that was probably the best stretch of basketball we've had in A10 play so far. So I think that's something to look at. That lineup really, really, really brought it tonight. For as bad as the losses to Fordham and LaSalle were, they knocked out any at-large chance we had. But after tonight's win, you're a game back at first place through 5 games.
Oh, geez.
If you'd have told me, hey, you'll be a game back through 5. Okay, I'm cool with a lot of the teams that are ahead of you with still left on the schedule. Sure. I'll take it. So it just goes to show how reactionary we all can be sometimes. None of us are, we've all done it before. But you take a step back and you look and you're like, all right, well, we're a game back at first, and we still have games with the upper echelon of the league coming up. And if we start finding our stride and we win a couple of those, then, like I said, the at-large hopes are over. Don't get those as far out of your mind as you possibly can. It now relies on the team coming together, playing well enough to hopefully move up the standings and put it together in the A-10 tournament. Will they
finish in the top 4? I mean, that's the expectation every year.
Right. And you're right out. I mean, you're right there. You're a game out of it. There's 3 teams that are 3-1.
Oh, 3-1 ahead of us, you're saying. Yeah, I got
right.
it. Yeah. Okay.
So, and SLU hasn't played a game yet. So we they look like it, but they've got their own issues. So, but yeah, like you said, it was a Wednesday night game against Duquesne in the middle of the season, but I was very encouraged with what I saw. And, Duquesne kind of made that fake run where everyone was like, oh no, here we go again. The result was never really in doubt, in my opinion.
No, I never felt the result was in any jeopardy after about the 10-minute mark. And I said as much on Twitter. I know, okay, we've had this show for years now. Okay. And I tell people, did I play college basketball? No. Did I play for Dayton? No. I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm seeing. I know what I am digesting when I watch a basketball game, much like you two do. And tonight was one of those games where he hit the 8-minute timeout. I believe the Flyers were up like 15. And I said to myself, okay, yes, this team has had trouble putting other teams away. This is just not one of those nights. I said it on the game day morning that the Flyers matched up particularly well with Duquesne. And Blackburn, I want to get your thoughts on this here, but the Flyers matched up really well with Duquesne, I thought, on paper. And the reason was because of Jordy. And here's the double-edged sword here. No, hold on. Just let me get there, all right? Is that Jordy was a huge mismatch on offense for Duquesne. They had no big man. So if you could figure out how to get him isolated in the post, get him to get on the block down there and then isolate his man away from the basket like Obi used to do a lot. Remember, he used to close people out. You get the ball in over top. I mean, that was a realistic scenario that I had kind of run through tonight as a kind of bread and butter play to beat Duquesne offensively right now. The flip side of that, and why this knife cuts both ways, is that Jordy is as much of a mismatch on offense as he is on defense, but in the other direction to Duquesne's advantage. Now, in the first 10 minutes or so, that mismatch went the wrong way for the Flyers because you guessed it, Grant kind of got outdueled early on by Keith Dambrot. And he got outdueled because they set a lot of high ball screens. They pulled Jordy out to the perimeter. And after that happened, you can kind of guess where it goes from there. There's gaping holes down low underneath because Jordy's out on the perimeter and he's in a mismatch with a guard. And Duquesne did that time in and time out. And I felt vindicated in the first minute, Blackburn, because if you remember the first bucket of the game, it was the easiest play they've run all year, 2 points to Jordy, run back down the floor. And I was like, boom, I nailed it. I knew exactly what we could do tonight to exploit their small ball lineup. And then they didn't do that the rest of the first half. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because there was a lot of takes on Jordy. Yes, his defense was deplorable. He was out of position a lot, but that's because it wasn't by accident, people. All right. Keith Dambrot knows what he's doing. He got Jordy out of position on purpose, and they exploited that. And Anthony Grant did not exploit that offensive mismatch in the way that I thought he was going to. And consequently, Dayton had to go back to the guard heavy lineup. It worked. They won the game. No big deal. Blackburn, your thoughts on the game tonight?
Well, first and foremost, I thought Marcus Weathers was going to go for 40 after the first,
it seemed like that.
He was hitting insane shots. I mean, guy was on fire. I mean, look, it's a guard-oriented offense. It's going to stay that way. Especially when you have Crutcher and Watson, I mean, those are the guys that are to shoot the ball the most. Jordy just isn't going to figure into the offensive plans. It's just not going to happen. He's on a tree. He's on a real threat down low. He really isn't,
No, he's not. Just because the thing with Jordy is that he, I can't even sit here and be like, his fundamentals are great. He doesn't do all the little things that big men need to do offensively to kind of, like Luka Garza, for example. I know this is like a wild example and people are like, what are you talking about? But the point I'm getting at is Luka Garza is terrible on defense, but he's so good on offense that it doesn't matter. And all we needed Jordy to do was be in a plus situation enough on offense that his defense didn't matter. And it's pretty clear that we're probably not going to get to that position with him, right?
No, I mean, he is what he is at this point. I mean, I don't see any major development. I mean, the kid tries, but he's just not athletic enough to be a factor. It's just he moves really slow. He's kind of awkward. He's one of those big guys that, he doesn't really know how to use his body the right way. It's more used to slam into people as what I mean? It's just, he doesn't know how to use his body the right way, I think. And I mean, that's part of it. I mean, he's just not an athletic guy. It is what it is. But, my God, man, Duquesne, obviously that's a different game with sincere carry, but the shot selection from Duquesne, I mean, I know they're awful offensively, and we've talked about this for I don't even know how long. Duquesne is historically one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation. I mean, every year they seem like they finish up in the 300s, and yet there's always such an emphasis on shooting the three with them. I just don't get it.
I can't figure it out.
So you bring that up about how they're a horrible 3-point shooting team, and you also brought up about how it looked like Weathers was going to go for 40. If you take out,
I'm gonna rattle off a stat before you go into this, okay? Because I really needed this stat just to hammer home the point from Blackburn. So just hold on to that thought. Put a pin in it. All right.
Got it.
Last season, Duquesne was 245 in the country in 3-point shooting. Okay. 2019, they were 278 in the country. In 2018, they were 164. 2017, 244. 2016 is the last year. You have to go all the way back to 2016 when they were 17-17 to find a Duquesne team that even shot in the top 100 in the country in 3-point percentage. So it's a very astute point by you, Blackburn.
What were they tonight? Like 3, 4?
So if you take out Weathers, who looked like he was going to go for 40 early, this was Duquesne's shooting numbers. They were 20 of 54 from the field for 37%. And they were 1 of 15 from 3 for 6%.
And you know what I really loved? And I didn't tweet this just because, like, what sense does it make? Like, we all saw it. But the short kid, Dunn Martin.
Oh, my God.
I mean, he wasted at least 6 possessions for Duquesne tonight.
Easily. I mean, he pulled up, I think, on the break 3 times for about 35 feet.
0 for 4 from the great beyond. 4 of 12 from the field.
I love that kid because I was like, every time he goes up the floor, I'm like, yes, put the ball in his hands more because he's going to throw up some ridiculous shot that has no chance of going in.
And that's the problem now that Duquesne has is without Carey, he's your primary ball handler. He's the guy running the show. And, like you said, I mean, it is fun to watch because the guy obviously has an internal green light. I'm sure if Dambrot's not encouraging him to pull up from 35 on a fast break.
Oh, he's exhilarating to watch.
Yeah. For all the wrong reasons. But and then I'm watching. I'm thinking about Duquesne today, watching them, and Dambrot doesn't get enough credit for getting back-to-back 19 wins with that program. I mean, they've had some talent filter in and out every now and again, but for the most part, it's just try to not have the other team score a lot. That's basically their strategy, And Dayton tonight, it kind of worked for a little bit, but at the end it was just too much Crutcher, too much Evie, and they just couldn't keep up. And that's just how it's always been with them.
You brought up a good point, Blackburn, about the Duquesne program and how impressive it is that Dambrot has gotten them to consecutive 19-win seasons. And so I want to give listeners a little bit more insight on the Duquesne program when we get back from commercial break. That's called a teaser in the radio business, you see. On the other side of the commercial break, we're talking more about Dayton beating Duquesne 72-63. When we come back from commercial, I'll give you a little insight into the Duquesne program, why they were so crappy for so many years, and how they've turned it around recently to get back to a little bit of A10 relevance. That's all coming up other side of the break right here on Talking Out Loud. I'm Sully with Blackburn and Drew today, dissecting Dayton beating Duquesne. Wednesday night, Talking Out Loud Hour brought to you by Lee's Chicken. You can only find it right here on ESPN 1410 Radio. Come on back after the break.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
From shredding to printing, the UPS store does every ing for small business. And this holiday, when the other guys are closing, we're doing another ing altogether, opening. So while we're busy notarizing and copying, consulting and mailboxing, packing and shipping, well, they're not really doing much of any ing. Opening this holiday, the UPS store. Every ing for small business, all in one place.
The UPS store.
The UPS store franchise locations are independently owned and operated. Services, pricing, and hours may vary. See Center for details.
Sam's new project needs a project manager right away if she's going to manage to hit her deadline.
It took an extra week to get approvals, but they still want the original delivery date. I guess we'll figure something out.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
It's auction time again in North Lima, Ohio with home improvement products and building materials, and it's all online, ending this Tuesday at 12 noon. Go to pbauctions.com and register to bid on name brand home improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more, all sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
The Meyer Distribution Center in Tip City, Ohio is hiring for warehouse positions in all units, which include flexible schedules, career growth opportunities, best-in-class benefits, and competitive starting wages. Interested candidates should call 937-669-9109 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. Apply online at jobs.meyer.com. Search distribution and enter Tip City. Once again, call 937-669-9109 for an interview. We look forward to you joining the team at Meyer. Meyer is an equal opportunity employer.
2020 has been a hard-hitting year for all of us, but specifically for our veterans. Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission will be holding a new winter coat giveaway for all qualifying veterans on Friday, January the 15th at the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, located at 627 Edwin C. Moses Boulevard, 4th floor, East Medical Plaza. For coat qualifying requirements, go to mcvsc.org or call 937-225-4801.
Is the cost of finishing the basement worth the benefit of some peace and quiet?
When questions find you, Merrill Edge Self-Directed Investing can help you find answers with personalized planning tools and insights to help you get where you want to go, even if it's just downstairs. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/withinreach to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
Hey, what do you want to da-da-da? I don't know. What do y'all think we should da-da-da? Well, what did we do yesterday? Yesterday. All the dolls feel like the same doll these days. I know. Like, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today is Thursday. Oh, no, I forgot to call my mom on her birthday. No.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. That won't change. Not today or any day.
Quote today at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares sweepstakes is back. It's the largest official game of Super Bowl Squares ever, with millions of dollars in prizes, and best of all, it's free to enter. Every score change, someone wins $50,000. Just enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com, and it could be you. Touchdowns, field goals, safeties, extra points. Every single score change will draw one lucky winner from the square to win $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. One way to enter, 2 ways to win. See rules and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com. Then tune into the Super Bowl on February 7th to see if you bring home some dough. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends 2/4/2021, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 33. The NFL entities as defined in the official rules have not offered to sponsor this promotion in any way.
Looking for an easier way to find your next call center or accounting job? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Find a location near you at expresspros.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. Dayton Flyers basketball fans, it's time to wear red and stay loud. Here's Talking Out Loud with Sully on 1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to the Talking Out Loud Hour, brought to you by Lee's Chicken. Also want to take some time just coming back from our commercial break to thank two local businesses in the area. Number one, Sherholtz Printing, SCHUERHOLZ Printing, for being a sponsor of Talking Out Loud and have kept the lights on here at the podcast. And also our friend Sean Finn at Clear Mortgage. I thank both of those companies and both of those guys over there for helping us out, helping the program. Guys they're local. Sean Finn, we know him well, and I just wanted to give them a quick shout out on the radio because they're two of the companies that help me and help us keep doing the show and keep making it a decent production so that we can give it to ESPN Radio and then it can hit your ears succinctly. All right, welcome back again. It's Talking Out Loud Hour. I'm your host Sully here with my confidants Drew and Blackburn, and we're talking about Dayton 72-63 victors last night against the Duquesne Dukes. And before we went to the break, I told you that I would give you a little bit more insight into the Duquesne program, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Duquesne has been a bottom feeder school for quite some time. They haven't made the NCAA tournament since the 70s, but they were also a founding member of the A10. So for those of you that don't know, the conference was formed in the late 70s, and Duquesne, along with UMass, they were founding members of the conference. There's a couple other ones that are still in off the top of my head. I cannot remember them, but this is good enough for my example, and you've learned now that I'm speaking. So that's good enough for me. But the point I'm getting to is that Duquesne never had an emphasis on their athletics programs in general. Okay. And that was because they had administrators that just did not prioritize it. And it was mainly because they were priests. And I don't know why that correlation exists, but at Duquesne, that correlation exists. So these days, Duquesne got a new athletic director from the University of Dayton. His name is Dave Harper. And since that time, in the new administration, lay people that have replaced the people that were there, Duquesne has put a greater emphasis on their athletics. They put millions of dollars into their facilities. They're renovating their arena. And you're kind of seeing the results. I mean, Duquesne obviously is still not a great program. They're not even really a good A10 program, but they're a step above where they were. And I mean, you remember Blackburn, and we're even talking about it now. Dayton's won 10 of the last 11, 14 of the last 16. I mean, we still have a certain amount of dominance against them, but I don't feel like I am breaking any news to say that Duquesne gives us a better game recently than they used to, like say when I was growing up. And I remember one time I was in high school and Dayton lost to Duquesne, and it was like deplorable. I can't remember what year it was, maybe like 07, 08. And Duquesne maybe won like 10 games the whole year. And they beat Dayton at home. And I never heard the end of it from my high school friends. And I expound upon that point just to kind of highlight that that's the program Duquesne has been around the area, around the college basketball landscape, around the A10. They just have never been a respected program. But again, I thought they gave Dayton a good game tonight. And you said it at the end of your point, Blackburn, is that it's so obvious now what this team is for Dayton. They're Crutcher and Watson, and then whatever contributions they can get from everybody else. And it's also apparent that when Watson and Crutcher aren't scoring, and I say and with emphasis, this team is not going to beat anybody. I mean, they have to get contributions from those two guys. Tonight, they chipped in 37 of the 72. They took 29 shots between the two of them. That has to happen every single night. And when I stood on this mic weeks ago and I criticized Jalen Crutcher and I put the loss on his shoulders, it was for that exact same reason. I mean, these guys have to steer the ship every single night. And they did tonight, and they got the job done. Drew, what else did you see out there tonight?
Well, to kind of keep going on the Jalen thing, Jalen really looks like he's starting to take the season by the nuts.
He's starting to realize how important he is to the lineup. That's all.
Yes, and I tweeted out tonight that his usage rate is going to have to be very high for Dayton to be successful. And for those who don't know what usage rate is, it's basically how often is Jalen Crutcher contributing to a ball going into the basket. So that's both his scoring and his assist. It doesn't matter how it happens. The ball's just got to be in his hands. Yep. And however Jalen wants to make it happen, he needs to have the freedom to make it happen. And I feel like in the Davidson game and tonight, he's really made an emphasis on making it happen. And it's making everyone around him, or he's making the players around him better because of it.
That's exactly right, Blackburn. I know that we talked about this a million times, is that when Crutcher is aggressive, and you saw it a lot tonight, right? He would drive down the middle of the lane, and because of the attention paid to him, somebody else was open on the fast break. Same thing. He'd go straight to the rim. Everybody collapse on him because they know he's the scorer, opens up lanes for everybody else. So if you're sitting there and you're like, asking us like, well, why? Because I said tonight, Crutcher needs to stop passing the ball. Just stop pass. Just go straight to the rim. And sure enough, he did. He attacked. He scored buckets. And then in the second half, when he was going to the bucket, when he attacked the rim, they closed on him, and then the passes were open. But A has to happen before B happens, right? And like Jalen Crutcher has to be aggressive, or Dayton's not going to win anything. They're really not going to win anything. They have to have him being aggressive, leading the ship, and kind of dictating the pace, right?
Well, tonight it was nice to see him be aggressive from the jump.
Yeah.
It seems like the past couple of games, he's kind of waited by the sideline there and let things come to him. But tonight he was out there being aggressive from the very start. But like you said, you're right. I mean, you're going to have Evie and Jalen every night. Specifically Jalen, he's got to be dialed in every night. If he has an off night, it's not going to be good.
There's no way we can win. I mean, where are the other?
It's getting late early if Jalen's not on his game.
And look, there are some losses down the road. I think everybody here knows that. But that being said, regardless of how the games turn out, you have to have Crutcher getting 15 to 20 shots up a game. And I rarely say this. It's like, you rarely want to tell a kid to be selfish, but I'm telling him, like, whatever opportunities are there to score, to make things happen, just take them. And also, let's not forget, he's got about 6 weeks left in his career at Dayton. A lot of people are talking about the possibility of him being drafted. Go ahead and make a tape for the NBA scouts. Yeah,
Make the case.
Because that's at the end of the day, I'm watching tonight, I'm thinking, oh man, Crutch is on. EB's on, and then you're thinking, well, we only got these guys for 6 more weeks. So it's not like you want to move past these kids because they still have some games to play. But in the back of your mind, you're also thinking about that too. And it's kind of like, man, I'm already looking forward to next year. We're not necessarily looking forward to it, but thinking about next year, I'm thinking, man, it's going to be an interesting year next year for sure without those two.
Yeah, I agree. To hammer home that point, Ibby had 23 points in the loss to SMU. But since that time, there has been 2 games since the SMU game where he's scored in single digits. You guys want to try and take a stab at which 2 games that were? Those were?
I'm going to say
Fordham and LaSalle. 9 against LaSalle, 7 against Fordham, loss. I mean, you do get to a point in the season where you start to become redundant, but we also have to hammer home what the formula is for this team, and it's blatantly clear. I mean, if Crutcher and Watson score less than 15 in a night, we're absolutely screwed because there's just
no matter who.
Literally, there's no one else to score. It's not.
Yeah. And who do you guys feel confident in next year? Who's like outside of Moose, who needs to shoot more, man? He needs to get aggressive too. He kind of disappears. in games.
Yeah, I think Grant was like, play the system, and he was like, F-U-A-G, I'm going to light it up for me.
Yeah. So we lost to Florida, man. I'm doing my thing now.
Yeah.
I'll say this about the young guys just in general.
I call them young guns. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the young guns. They look like they're starting to grasp it more and more with every passing game. I'm going to use Zemi as an example here. I really like how he plays that small ball 5. I really do. And you know what? Like there might be games where we get killed on the glass, but I'll take what we get offensively with him at the 5. He has the ability to kind of step out and spread the floor a little bit more, open up some more driving lanes. He got to the line a lot tonight and was 6 for 8 getting there. That's very encouraging to see. And I also like Weaver as a ball handler and distributor. He doesn't get too ahead of himself. He's got nice pace to his game. I like to see him start becoming a little bit more of a scorer, but he knocked down a couple threes tonight as well. So I actually think the young guys are progressing pretty well. And obviously their impacts aren't really shown in the box score, but I think that also has to do with what we've talked about already, about how often the ball needs to be in Jalen and Ibby's hands.
Are we ready to completely close the door on Sissoko, by the way?
Yes.
I am. Hand up, I am.
Yes.
Because I'll talk to a specific point in the game tonight. There was a point where there was a rebound like 3 feet away from him. He goes to grab it. It hits off his hands, bounces up, and then another player grabs it. And they go down and they get an and one, I'm pretty sure. And I literally said to myself out loud, like, if Sissoko isn't going to rebound when he's on the floor, then what else is he going to do? Like, what else is going to happen?
What's left?
I do not see it. I just do not see it.
That's the thing. I think you guys agreed. There hasn't even been a glimpse or a spark or anything to indicate that he is a D1 college. I mean, outside the fact that he's 6'9", 250.
He's gigantic.
He looks the part. But my God, man, if this isn't a year for him to kind of contribute and make some waves, I don't know what is. And it's like, at this point, I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, there's just I don't see a scenario where this works out for either party.
Yeah,
you hate to say that, but it's like, hey, that portal's warm right now.
A little bit.
That portal's warm.
I think if he gets into the gym and slims down and kind of becomes a little bit more dynamic athletically, but I don't see it.
No. Every explanation that I hear about this guy, it always ends up
way. And I just don't. And again, I agree with both of you. I just
We're doing what we can't do, which is give him a lifeline.
Every time someone tries to explain like how he could be productive in the lineup, it always basically ends up being some version of, well, if he was a better athletic basketball player.
I never said
I know.
Productive. I said he
was a 15-foot shot. Yeah, okay, that's gonna happen overnight.
No, I mean, Drew, we're busting on you, but I Blackburn brings up a good point in that.
Thank you.
Tonight with Jordy, it's like we've talked about this a million times. When Jordy's on, he gives us a really nice X factor down low. We can count on him. He kind of mixes it up in the glass, and maybe he's not going to get a rebound, but he'll fight for it long enough to let people get back on defense. Like, there's little things that he can contribute to the lineup. And then we always say this: when he's bad, he's really, really bad. And tonight was one of those situations where they exploited his presence. They game planned around Jordy, and he was really bad. But the point still stands that he gives you productive things every now and again where you can point to and go, that's why he's in the lineup. That's why Coach Grant's going to stick with him. That's why he gets 20 minutes. I don't have that same scenario with Sissoko. I mean, we're 10 games in, and every time he comes on the floor, I'm waiting for something to happen. But more often than not, I'm just like, it's kind of like a Matej situation where you watch him on the court and you go, I just don't think this kid is ready for this level. And I think he's in over his head because he's not a good enough basketball player to be on the floor with these guys. And I still just cannot think of a single productive thing that he's given the lineup. Point blank. I can't.
You know what? He played pretty well in the red-blue game 2 years ago.
The good old battleship was like sounding all the alarms last year to burn his red shirt. And again, I tweeted earlier in the year, but the still stands. That dude's Twitter privileges should be revoked.
I agree. If you have a take that cold, you got to shut it all down.
Yeah,
and that goes for anybody who added me about fouling at the end of the Davidson game. If you don't understand why you have to foul there, you don't know college basketball, you don't know basketball, and please do not interact with me.
Don't ask me.
I mean, look, and I get it. Look, there's people out there who have certain motivations, and I won't get into them, as to why they protect Anthony Grant. And I get it. I understand it. It doesn't make it right. But if you just don't understand the basic strategy there with 12 seconds with a foul to give up 3, I don't know. I can't help you. Like, I can't. And you're not a serious person that I'm going to interact with or take. I'm not going to listen to your opinion. And that's nothing personal. It's just how it is.
Look, I by far of the people who contribute to this podcast, maybe outside of Ryan myself, I've probably been the person to most defend Grant through his tenure here. And even I couldn't say anything or justify what he did at the end of the Davidson game. No chance. It was one of the biggest, coaching mess ups that I quite literally have ever seen.
I tweeted out, I was like, "Oh, we're going to foul here," in jest, because I was like, well, obviously they're going to foul here. And it'll be funny because I always ask, are they going to foul here? And they don't. I was like, well, this is an obvious place where they will foul. So that's the joke.
And you know what? Like, the sending them to the line thing, that I'm on team, foul no matter what. But, I've seen games go bad when you put them on the line. But the fact that they had a foul to give and they didn't foul is the most egregious offense.
It's great. It's absolute insanity. And like I said, I had people trying to defend it. And at that point, I'm just thinking either they're blind, Grant.
Yeah, there's no defending it. And you just have to move forward and win the game, which is what they did.
Right, and that's at the end of the day, they won the game. But again, those kids played well enough to win that game in regulation. You hate to see a coach take that shot away from you. God forbid you lose that game. You didn't have to lose that game. You should have won it after 40 minutes, and that's what you hate to see. You hate to see where a coach is so ineffective where he's costing his kids a chance to win a game.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that was what I was so upset about. We've gotten a little off of the Duquesne game, but it bears repeating, and that's why I was very angry about that game, because as a coach, you can't.
I was steaming.
You can't. Yeah, you didn't have your guys prepared, and frankly, you can't let them down in the biggest moment of the game when they've worked so hard to get it to that point. But I'm glad you guys ranted about Davidson quickly. I knew it was going to be unavoidable on this week's show, since we did last week's Talking Out Loud hour on Thursday, just like we always do, 6 to 7 p.m. And that's what we're doing this week. But thank you guys, because now I get to put it back on the rails during the commercial break. And on the other side of the commercial break, we're going to wrap up talking about Dayton against Duquesne. I know these guys got off the rails and started talking about Friday night's win, the overtime win against Davidson. But I'm going to put it back on the rails. All I ask from you is to come back on the other side of the commercial break, finishing up talking about Dayton's win against Duquesne last night. And then we'll do a little quick A10 rundown, give you the things you need to know about the league and what took place over the last couple days heading into the weekend. That's all on the other side of the break. Talking Out Loud hour with me, Sully, Drew, and Blackburn, right here on ESPN Radio 1410 in Dayton.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM.
At the Home Depot's Days of Doing Winter Bath event, it's never been easier to turn a small project into a big improvement. Start with a wide selection of stylish vanities from only $139. New low prices on faucets starting at only $59. Why not do something nice for your bathroom, your budget, and yourself? Come to the Winter Bath event, going on now at the Home Depot at homedepot.com/bath. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Valid through February 28th while supplies last.
I'm so sick.
Ooh, honey.
Seriously? I'm sick.
Oh, honey, it's time for Dayquil Severe Honey. It's maximum strength cold and flu medicine with soothing, honeylicious taste.
I love you, honey.
And I love you.
I meant the Dayquil. New Dayquil Severe Honey. The soothing, honeylicious daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, power through your day medicine. Use as directed.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now apply 2 pounds of force for acceleration. You really turning in 0.3 miles and begin a deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles. Base coverage is only. Availability varies.
Have big plans for your laundry room? So does Lowe's. Right now, save big on a Samsung large capacity top load washer and dryer that was $949 and now is just $679 each. Samsung's newest washing machine comes in a stylish champagne finish and has more capacity for large loads to cut down on wash time. And with the innovative Samsung dryer, set sensor dry to help dry clothes more evenly. Shop at Lowe's now with free delivery. Valid through 1/20, U.S. only.
Hey, Sam, back from your date so soon?
It didn't exactly go well. I really struggle with communication, trust, lack of commitment. At this rate, I'll be a single mom forever.
Maybe you should check out if you qualify for the free classes offered at Marriage Works Ohio. They have TANF funds for people over 18 with a child at home or pregnant. You may qualify as a single mom. They help married couples and singles with healthy relationship classes, including topics like dating. Go to trustmarriage.com or call 937-262-7010 to register.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers for home daily dedicated lanes. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody or apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Looking for an easier way to find your next call center or accounting job? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Find a location near you at expresspros.com.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. Dayton Flyers basketball fans, it's time to wear red and stay loud. Here's Talking Out Loud with Sully on 1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to the Talking Out Loud Hour right here on ESPN Radio. It's brought to you exclusively by Lee's Chicken. I'm your host, Sully, joined tonight by Drew and Blackburn, my confidants at theblackburnreview.com. You can catch us anytime before or after the game, writing recons, recaps, and then, of course, the podcast Talking Out Loud, Talking Out LOWD, wherever you listen to podcasts. Before the commercial break, we were talking about Dayton beating Duquesne last night, and it quickly went off the rails to start talking about Dayton's game against Davidson on Friday night. But I'm glad the guys did that because during the commercial break, I had a chance to look up Sissoko's numbers for the season. You guys ready?
Oh, boy.
I'm ready.
I'll start with the thing that he has the most of and work the way down from there. So he has 25 rebounds on the year.
Damn.
And I am talking, he's appeared in every game, believe it or not.
I believe it. I believe
that.
He's appeared in every game. His most minutes were against George Mason and LaSalle, where he got 20 apiece. All right. So he's got a considerable amount of minutes. All right.
He played 20 minutes?
20 minutes against LaSalle.
Oh, my God.
And George Mason, back-to-back nights.
What game was it? One of those games we had like 7 healthy bodies, right?
Yeah.
I don't care.
It was LaSalle, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so here we go. 25 rebounds, 16 fouls, 12 points, and 9 turnovers. So he has more fouls than points, fellas. I mean, it's just let's not beat the kid over the head. I just, as blunt as I can be with people without them jumping to my mentions about what a meanie, what an ass.
Too bad.
He just doesn't look like he's ready for this level. I said the same thing about Matej. Great kid, funny, great locker room presence. He wasn't ready. He walked out the door because he knew it. And I not that I hope that happens, but Sissoko just has to recognize that he's just not ready for this level.
Hey, the portal's ready when he is. That's all I'm saying.
It's nice and warm, and you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to sit out.
Sincere Carey just hit it. He's having a great time for himself.
He's chilling.
What did you think about Dan Rod's comments about Carey leaving? They were kind of brutal.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, I mentioned it briefly this morning on our piece, but 3 players have decided to leave the Duquesne program this season. 2 of them said that they're going to come back. One said there's going to come back, and then 2 are going to transfer. So they just lost 3 guys within the last month, right? One of them, Sincere Carey, who was a starter on the team, and Keith Dambrot basically said he's unhappy. And he went as far as to say that young athletes sometimes make a decision to either try to be happy or be unhappy, and he was choosing to be unhappy. I haven't seen a college coach kind of throw a player under the bus like that in quite some time, but it was a coach kind of voicing his opinion that he had done everything that he could in the current situation. And it was also an indicator to me that Keith Dambrot wanted him to stay and would have done the things necessary for him to stay. I don't.
Well, he said that, right?
Yeah, I don't have any
said
in the situation. Yeah,
he said in his comment, he's like, I literally gave the kid the keys to the program.
Yep.
So essentially, he's saying there's nothing more I can do. If the kid's not happy being the man, being the guy who's running the show, the guy that I trust the most, then I can't. There's nothing else I can do.
Nothing you can do, exactly. So,
and I see he went to Kent State, by the way. Sincere Carey. So I don't know, man. Good luck at Kent State.
Yeah, I just can't quite figure that one out. But I guess neither here nor there. The Flyers will get Duquesne again down the stretch here. They play them again on Tuesday, February 2nd. That will be, I'm guessing, at Duquesne's new arena, but it keeps getting pushed back because of construction. So, boys, we have to turn the page really quickly. The Flyers get back in action on Sunday, which actually, let's do this. Before we get to the A10 rundown, we've long pondered this question. And with the A10's new TV schedule, they have the Friday night game on ESPN, they have the Sunday slate on NBC Sports, and they have the 3 games on Saturday. The schedule's been messed up. You used to be able to set your watch by Wednesdays and Saturdays Flyers were going to play, right? What do you guys prefer the Flyers play during the week? Because I am a Wednesday, Saturday guy myself. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but Friday night sock hop has kind of, found a place into my heart. What say you, Drew? You go first.
I definitely am a fan of the Friday night games, especially when I was at school.
Yes.
Those Friday night games were awesome when I was at school. But now I do kind of like the weekday game. The weekday game really doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me whether we play Tuesday or Wednesday. And then obviously the Saturday afternoon time slot is the time slot I like for Saturdays. What I don't like is when the Dayton Flyers and the Cleveland Browns playoff game are on at the same exact time.
I know.
That I don't like.
I'm sorry. Blackburn, what about you? Where do you like the Flyers to land during the week? Because Tuesday, Friday has its merits.
You know how I feel. I love the sock hop. It's a great way. It's a great way to cap the week. It really is. It's like
it is.
The week's over. You put everything to the side, and then you got Dayton hoops at 6 p.m.
Or last week it was at 9.
Yeah, I don't know. Seriously, the parents will probably drive it up at 11:30. That's a little bit late for the kids to be out. Let's get them back to 7 or 6 for the sock hop.
Yeah.
But I like the Friday night game. I really do.
Yeah, no, it's grown on me over the years. This year less so because Friday nights at Glasscott's in Chicago used to be raucous when we would have big games, and the 8 p.m. Central tip last week would have been no different. But we're in.
I have one more thing to say about Dayton on TV. CBS Sports.
Oh my God!
You guys stink out loud. Stink.
Go out.
Stink.
Do it. Tell them.
Because you don't have an app on an Xbox or a smart TV to where I can just simply put in my information and watch a Dayton basketball game.
You can't even do it if you have Comcast, Drew.
Any devices to watch this game. I had to pull up a stream at an unnamed website because I'm not going to get them in trouble. And I had to watch this game on a stream. And it is patently ridiculous, and I want to boycott future CBS sports games when Dayton is on there. So ESPN and NBC Sports, they should just have all the A10 games and leave CBS Sports in the dust.
Do you get the feeling that the CBS announcers are like handed a sheet like 20 minutes before the game?
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
I mean, it always seems like they're unprepared. They're mixing up to like tonight. They thought Michael Hughes was on Dayton for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and
it's like this isn't hard, man.
And you're right, because I know as someone who's been in the media room, and I know what sheet they get handed. You know, kind of how the media sheet's broken up. Like you have the pronunciations, you have like the trends, like the Flyers have beaten Duquesne Duquesne the last 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
And then it'll say
little bio stuff.
Yeah, it'll say like the season series, whatever. And you could very much tell that the announcers, number one, have not covered many A-10 games this year. And number two, they have not seen a lick of Dayton basketball this year. And, I behoove people that makes these decisions to just think harder about who you're putting behind the mic. And I know that none of them are listening to this podcast, and this is a fruitless endeavor to kind of go into this, but it shows through where he's like spouting off all this random history about Dayton Flyers. And I'm like, congrats, you're over 55 years old and a college basketball fan. Like, good for you, man. Like, thank you. Yeah, you're great. You know who Mike Sylvester is. Like, okay.
That was painful, though. That was kind of painful.
It was, because he's just
it's a very storied program.
Anecdotes. And I'm just like, who cares, man? He's like, oh, there's Mick Donaher. I'm like, oh, you know his nickname. Good for you, buddy. Like, none of it was relevant to what they were talking about. And they just kept saying like all these buzzwords that it just bugs the crap out of me. Like, oh, I wish Zimmy and Obi would have been able to play together. Like, why? He's a freshman.
I wish Magic and Obi were playing together at Dayton.
I mean, there was so many things.
Also, he thought that not that he should have gotten this, but this is a big miss. The last first round pick was in 1979, and he guessed Roosevelt Chapman. I mean, dude, you're about 6 years off, and yeah. It was one of those things where I just had to laugh. I will, before we kind of look ahead to what's coming, I did want to share one story. Some of my favorite quotes in my house now are when my girlfriend looks up from whatever the hell she's doing while I'm watching the Flyers and just makes like a one-off, like a one-off comment, because she doesn't really have any context. She knows like Jalen Crutcher, and that's about it. I bought her an Obi Toppin sweatshirt, but I'm basically just outlining the fact that all of her comments are completely objective every single time she looks at the television. So today, during a stoppage, they had a picture of Ibby Watson that they pulled up, Sleepy as we call him. And every time he puts up a three in the living room, I'm sitting there and I go, Sleepy! And then, sometimes he hits him, sometimes he doesn't. So puts up a picture of Ibby Watson, and she looks over at me and she goes, he looks like he's high. Yeah.
And I go, yeah, that's our guy. That's Sleepy.
Has Watson's, the arc on his shot got about like 10 feet higher?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Like, what's going on?
Keep putting it higher.
Higher and higher, baby. Yeah.
I want it to be like, I want Ibby's arc to get to the point like a pass 30 yards down the field in football, where you have to have that 2 seconds where you're like, what the hell is going to happen? And then it like goes in or out. Whatever.
Where all his shots go to the top of the TV screen, actually disappear.
That's what I mean.
It's amazing.
I want more of that. Yeah. I want more arc. So let's turn the page, and I, like I was mentioning, we're going to get to the A-10 rundown before the show ends here. But man, we found ourselves in such a precarious position because now the Flyers are playing a home and away with George Washington. They're playing at George Mason's gym on Sunday, but playing against George Washington, I'm assuming because they don't want to be in D.C. for whatever the hell is going to happen this upcoming weekend.
Oh, I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah, let's not get into that. It's a basketball podcast. But I say this is a precarious position because, like, we talk about it all the time, guys. This is a literal no-win situation for Dayton. You either win both games in the next 4 days, next week, or you have another horrific loss on your resume. It sucks. These are just absolutely fruitless games coming up here, and I hate covering them because it just sucks. It really does.
They're tough to watch too. They really are.
Yeah, GW stinks.
They're terrible. Yeah.
And if you didn't know out there, listeners, like GW is bad. But I mean, we lost LaSalle and Fordham, so that's the thing. Like, you can't go into these being like, all right, go in there, get both your wins, and head back home. It's like they're going to be on the ropes in one of these games. You absolutely know it. And even if they clean GW's clock in the first game,
who does it matter?
They're going to come back and get the game in the second one. And exactly. Even when you win comfortably. It means nothing. So, all right. After that, the Flyers take on VCU St. Louis, Rhode Island. So we know that the rubber's going to hit the road a little bit after this GW week, but just stick with us, Flyer fans. All right. We'll try to calm down the podcast for next week because we know that the stakes are very low. There's no GW guests. I don't know anybody that's like a diehard GW fan that has anything intelligent to say. I mean, I'm sure they're out there. I just don't know them. But just bear with us. The next week's going to be rough. And hopefully next Wednesday night, we're 2-0 and we come back to you we have something good to say. So, all right, Drew, before we take him out of here, we've gone way too long on the rapid reaction, but whatever, it's good, honest conversation for the evening. The people of the show need to know what happened around the league tonight. So tell them.
All right. A-10 rundown. VCU beat said school, George Washington, only by 7, 84-77.
Covered that.
Bonaventure top Fordham, 68-54. Mason obliterated LaSalle.
That was a weird one, by the way. That was a weird game of the night.
One.
Yeah.
Yep, that is the weird one. And then UMass, top 4 UMass, topping Rhode Island, coming off that big VCU win over the weekend in overtime.
Yeah.
So
UMass
looking at the standings and the tiers. So I got them broken down into 4 tiers. So tier 1, I think is pretty obvious, is your Richmond, Bonaventure, VCU, and St. Louis, who still hasn't played in that Atlantic 10 game yet, but they're the only team who's ranked.
Yep.
So they're in there by default. Tier 2, I mean, there's not much separating these 4. I really don't think. It's Dayton, Davidson, UMass, and URI. And then tier 3, you've got Duquesne, Mason, LaSalle, kind of off in the middle of nowhere, George Washington. And then the last tier, which I just call Fordham and St. Joe's, is Fordham and St. Joe's.
Fordham and St. Joe's.
In that order.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, St. Joe's is last because, Fordham beat Dayton, so I kind of have to rank them.
Yeah.
So St. Joe's is last currently. So there you go. That's kind of how I have it broken down. Like I said, we're one of the very many teams who are only a game back in first place right now. So a lot can still happen. And like you said, after these next stretch of games against G-Dub, the going's going to get a little bit tougher.
Yep, you heard it here. Flyers next Thursday. We'll be coming back to you. Flyers take on GW Sunday and then Wednesday. So hopefully by the time this show airs next Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m., we'll have 2 Flyers wins, and we can talk about the slate that comes up after it, which is VCU, SLU, and URI. Running along on the show tonight, I'm Sully. This has been the Talking Out Loud program hour right here on ESPN Radio. It's brought to you by Lee's Chicken. So on behalf of my co-host, Drew, and Blackburn, I urge you, go search Talking Out Loud wherever you listen to podcasts and follow the 2 rules. They are wear red and be loud. Catch you next time.
Talking Out Loud with Sully on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason Hyatt, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Merrill Edge Self-Directed helps put investing within reach. Get started at merrilledge.com/within-reach. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, member SIPC.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you want to talk about outliers? Those guys are outliers. You're lucky that this thing's separating us. That's all I got to say. For facts, though. I got your facts right here.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook to follow along. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Circumstances. And I thought that's a great quote. That is so true. Sam Presti is so wise, the NBA general manager. And Andrew Berry remembered those words as the Cleveland Browns headed into the toughest week that they handled. And Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have the right disposition